Welcome to the Perma Rescue YouTube channel. It's Paul Nimbali, your host for this video. Information support group required. Basically, here I am trying to fumble this technology that's 5 years old and learn these computer programs, and it's, to be honest with you, way out of my league. And I think the time has come for us to try and be a bit more professional and bring these invisible structures of permaculture alive. So I have some programming proposals to put to anyone out there who could pull this off. Would be fabulous. So how hard could it be to create on a website a bioregional organisation skills register form where people fill out their details, and then those of you who are familiar with the map will see that it's written out here. So people would have an opportunity to be able to look at this map, go to this form, and as you can see here, there's 3 different types of boxes that you would have ability to tick. So 1 is whether you have an interest in the subject, 2 is if you're experienced, or 3 if you've got advanced experience teaching abilities. So what you would do is you would go through here and you would just click on and a tick would appear and a pop-up box would pop up underneath where you could then type in that yes, I have a PhD in agriculture or whatever it is. So this is all word for word out of the last chapter of Bill's book, which correlates with my mind map. So by the time you've scrolled through over these 150 categories here and ticked them, bear in mind, in a situation where the shit's hit the fan, some of those skills may well be the fact that you've hung out with your granddad on weekends when you were a kid and you know how to pluck a chook, and you've done a bit of gardening and you used to fix a few things around. So all those skills would need to be flushed out of people as they're filling in and be prompted to remind them that those events in time where they learnt those unique things might not have been important right throughout their lives, but in actual fact they are now. So people would fill out this form and then submit it, and then the computer program would automatically then work out what groups these people are best suited into. So it saves the admin people having to go through this whole form. It's not to say that at any stage somebody could go through this form and look into it deeper, especially if they're looking into appointing somebody for a specific function. We could organise this area a lot better too, so we could identify exactly where people are. Once this form is filled out, then we could then project this up onto a screen. So in the classroom, this would be a very useful tool. I could introduce people. In this case, Perma Rescue represents me as Paul Nimbali. So I'd be introducing myself as through the map, expressing my skills through the map. For example, not many of you would know that I've specialised since 1995 hanging out with Bill Mollison, that I specialise in future trends and potential threats and community and security, but there's all these other things filled in. I'm interested in transport support as far as bushwalking routes and innovations post-collapse. I've had to pick up a few computer skills, and I use UHF radios, putting together bioregional groups, picked up a few natural health support skills living in the communities that I live in. I'm particularly interested in morbidity. As Bill said, this will be a major driving force of communities in the future, especially the morbidity of our children. Social support I'm not particularly good at all, but I've been driven into that out of necessity. And not many of you know, over the 30 years I've picked up a few construction skills in my time, which is what makes me popular in communities, not my harping on about future trends and driving people crazy and popping people's fragile bubbles. So people would have a much more overview of what me as an individual within a classroom can contribute. So if everyone's filling these forms, then we should be able to combine these images in the classroom. So where we overlap, the lights get brighter, so we can see there's a large overlap there. But more importantly, it would highlight areas that we're not covering, which are areas that we need to bring in some skills to accommodate that. So that's basically where I'm coming from, is to try and get this whole subject a bit more visible and a bit more useful. So this would be the first stage of the programming, is to be able to fill in the form, and then the form be able to then replicate that, project it onto a wall where we can all see, and then be able to combine different programmable inputs. So it might be the programmable inputs that we want to combine of the classroom, or it might be the inputs for the whole bioregion, so we can see where the skills are, or the nation. So as we make these useful models, I know that permaculture practitioners around the world will use these tools, and the idea is to provide these basic tools for free and have a premium content where we make them more advanced. But any permaculture teacher or anyone out there basically would be able to pick up this tool and start to use it, and that's what we want. We need to get this information out there. Now, this same form that we just looked at could also be, instead of a skills register, it could also be a request for aid and assistance. So you could be quite specific if you were going into a village or a settlement and area of need. You could be very specific of the skills and the aid that you need. And then as the computer programming got more advanced, then the program itself would be able to match those skills up with designers, and to reduce our carbon footprint, designers closest to where you are. It would then give you access to the forms that you could go through and actually see the skills being offered by the individuals that the program is pointing out to you. So that's just two basic ways where we could just start to get this whole thing a bit more functional and useful, and hopefully get people on board to take this to its fullest potential. So thanks for your time, guys, and get in touch either on Facebook or at permarescue@gmail.com. Basically, we're putting this as a call out for help from the information support group. We're waiting for you with open arms. See you soon.